Nelson Jordan. I'm Chris Nelson. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page. Invite a friend to check it out as well. Let's get those views up, guys. That way we can do this at a higher quality level for you all and let you enjoy it. Check out our social media pages, follow us there, and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, if that's your preference. We're talking about the Sunday morning game for those of us here in the United States and Tottenham Hotspur Stadium over there in London. We had the Denver Broncos beating the New York Jets 13-11 with a game-winning field goal and just if you love defense, this was the game for you. Speaking of defense, for the Denver Broncos, no Dre Greenlaw. For the New York Jets, no Quincy Williams. Nelson, what were your takeaways from this game?
Based on my reaction, they're not that many, because that's how bad of a game this was.
It was rough.
It was embarrassing. It was like watching. How can I say this best? It's like watching a high school game with a bunch of sophomores and juniors trying to play varsity football. I mean, it was so bad from the player side and coaches as well. Now, granted, I thought Peyton had a better game plan to at least an extent, but this is far the worst performance I've ever seen of any NFL team in recent memory. The New York Jets, you guys have to be embarrassed of yourselves. Aaron Glenn, I get it. You talk about, especially early in the season, that you want to bring this, ferociousness, this tenacity, coming from Detroit and everything. But what did your offense show in this game but net 10 negative passing yards? Let me repeat that again. Negative 10 passing yards.
Yeah, when you get sacked 9 times. I mean, those sacks in pro football count towards the passing total.
The ending of the first half was diabolical. I've never seen something more just completely screwed up. The coaches were looking at the QB. Meanwhile, the quarterback's looking back at him, and they're like, "What do I do? What do I call? I mean, what do you want me to do?" And no, 25 seconds just run off the board, and nothing gets done.
Yeah. They just said, forget it. We're going to settle for going into halftime with this being the score. They just didn't want the Broncos to get the ball back.
Honestly, it was so bad. The only highlight of the game was that drive that Denver had in the first quarter where Sean Payton drew up a beautiful couple of plays and then was able to get the wheel route on one of his, I believe it was a fullback or tight end, on the wheel route.
I think
able
he's
to get
like
him wide open. Yeah. Get him open for a touchdown. But besides that, field goal game, both teams could barely move the ball at all. I mean, it was horrendous. And now if I'm Breece Hall, this might be an overreaction Monday type of deal, but if I'm Breece Hall, and if I'm reluctantly Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, I want to get the heck out. And if I'm Garrett Wilson, I'm like, why the heck did I sign my contract? I am screwed. Besides getting paid now, because Garrett Wilson's reaction was absolutely hilarious. I don't know if you caught it. He was so pissed off, he literally took off his helmet as time was expiring in the first half.
He was ripping into Aaron Glenn on the sideline as they walked into the locker room.
It was insane, but yeah. Overall, bad game. I mean, Denver slid by. They got the win. But just really bad game for the NFL, especially if you're trying to advertise it over in England. What's your take?
Well, I'm not with you on the Sean Payton aspect. I think this was a very poorly coached game from both sides, and I always find Sean Payton so frustrating. He's like one of the worst great coaches of all time. I mean, he's exhausting. Seriously. Okay. He's a great offensive schemer and play caller, no doubt about it. And he's clearly a great coach. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's had so much success, but it just feels like his in-game management so often is so bad. For years now, I find myself when he was with the Saints for 15 years and now with the Broncos past few years, whenever I'm watching them on national TV, I'm losing it on Sean Payton for some of these moronic decisions he makes. I feel like he's not aggressive enough at times. Other times he is for seemingly no reason. For the Jets, look, they had the great start. They forced the fumble, which was a crazy play by Bo Nix, by the way. I mean, wow, for him to get out of that and complete that pass in the first place to Franklin. But then the Jets got the fumble, set themselves up to get that field goal. But we had a false start, so the Jets are in a 4th and 7 instead of 4th and 2 ultimately after a couple plays. And I wanted them to go for it anyway. If they hadn't had the false start, I definitely would have. But Aaron Glenn, this defensive mentality, he wants to kick the field goal. He wants to run the clock out at the end of the first half and ensure the Broncos don't get the ball. At the end of that first half, I also didn't understand and criticize Sean Payton further. Sean Payton calls his first 2 timeouts to try to get the ball back, and then we have a 4th and 1. The Jets choose to let the clock run out. Why didn't he call his final timeout and force them to run a play on 4th and 1, whether it was to go for it or punt? either way, you would have potentially gotten the ball back. The only way you don't is if they go for it on that 4th and 1 and convert it, which I don't get why they didn't. Justin Fields isn't exactly Jalen Hurts, but he's not that crazy far off compared to the rest of the quarterbacks in the league. I mean, Josh Allen, that mix, but quarterback sneak with them. They ran a quarterback sneak at one point in the game, and it worked. They ran a fake punt on 4th down as well, which did work, to be fair, but I don't get why in 4th and 1 we don't just quarterback sneak with Justin Fields every time. Do the tush push and get those first downs, and I didn't get it. Be aggressive there. Credit to Patrick Surtain II, who just shut Garrett Wilson down entirely. But look, the quarterback play in this game for the most part, I know I said Bo Nix had that great play, and you mentioned the touchdown pass in the final play of the first quarter, which was the only touchdown in the entire game in the final play of the first quarter. But both quarterbacks played poorly. I mean, they both struggled to make reads. Justin Fields holds the ball for way too long. It's a big part on him that the 9 sacks occurred. He's inaccurate when he does throw the ball. Bo Nix is often inaccurate. I don't know that I've seen a quarterback throw the deep ball much worse than Bo Nix. Bo Nix cannot throw the deep ball to save his life. He is such an inaccurate deep ball thrower. I also noticed with Bo Nix, whenever he rolls out to his left, he can run, but he cannot throw when he rolls out to his left. It was a weird thing I picked up on, and he's actually reluctant to roll to his left. There are times when he had Will McDonald in front of him on one play, and if he'd gone left, he would have gotten away from him, but instead he went right and just threw the ball away, and it was a wasted play. He can't go to his left for some reason, and he can only play well on the move, and so Sean Payton has to constantly run these bootlegs where he's going out to his right. I mean, and we're watching the Broncos, so I feel like I'm watching Jake Plummer 20 years ago is what it looks like in that Mike Shanahan offense with all the bootlegs they used to run with him rolling out to his right. And a few years with Jay Cutler after that as well, going back a ways here. And look, we see that in the NFL. We see that Shanahan offense everywhere now, obviously in San Francisco with his son, but all over. But you're running a variation of the West Coast offense with Sean Payton, and it's frustrating to watch. The sequence I was most frustrated with in the game as a whole was after the touchdown drive, when we got to the second quarter and the Broncos got the ball back. Bo Nix slid early on a play when he had a lot more space and cost them a first down. They wound up instead with a 2nd and 1. They gained inches on 2nd down, and then before 3rd down, they had a false start from the wide receiver, which largely was on Bo Nix because he wouldn't snap the ball and the cadence was off. I just don't get what he's doing. He looks like a rookie still. He does. And then they convert anyway, but they have a hold. Their starting left guard, I didn't mention up front, and I apologize for that. Ben Powers was out. And the backup left guard was horrible. In the first half alone, he had a false start and 2 holding calls. The first holding call, they scored the touchdown anyway, the one we mentioned multiple times now. But the second time was that one, and they wound up punting, and the Jets get the ball back, and then we saw how they ended the first half, which was brutal. But it just... It was, I mean, that was the best opportunity the Broncos had outside of the touchdown drive to be able to get more points on the board. And then they would have been able, in the position at the end where they were trailing and had to go kick the go-ahead field goal and get the stop on defense to win it at the end, which they did with ease, sacking Justin Fields for the 9th time because the Jets only had, 82 total yards of offense? Justin Fields had, 50-something passing yards. That's it. I mean, it was brutal to watch. And as much as Garrett Wilson struggled because Pat Surtain was covering him, and some other cornerbacks, defensive backs did a good job on him as well, there were a few times when he was open for a minimal gain and Justin Fields simply missed him on the throw. I mean, it was very frustrating to watch the ineptitude of these offenses, as great as the defenses were. And it's scary to think how good they could have been if they were at full strength with those linebackers out for each side. So, give them credit for that. I mean, the go-ahead score for the Jets was on a holding call in the end zone for a safety. When did we see that? 13-11, a scoregami type thing there maybe? It was just weird. Yeah, it was frustrating to watch. I was impressed with the defenses, but I just get so frustrated with these decisions. And I also felt like the Broncos' special teams was poor. The Jets had a couple big kick returns that allowed them to get field goals. And obviously the fumble for the first one. I mean, their average starting field position, the only reason they stayed in the game because it was significantly better than the Broncos. And I always harp on that, how big of a deal average starting field position is. And that just goes to show it because the Broncos clearly were the superior team watching the game. And they allowed the Jets to hang around simply because of field position, because your special teams looks poor and you're making mistakes. I mean, all the penalties they had and just mental mistakes they made, I've named a few of them. That's coaching. That's on Sean Payton. I mean, look at the job Vance Joseph's doing with that talented defense and all the All-Pros they have on that side, the 4 of them. It's on Sean Payton. He needs to do a better job of having this team disciplined, and that's always seems to be the case with so many of his teams. It is very frustrating. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated watching that. It's bad football, and look, Aaron Glenn, he has the defense mentality. You mentioned it. I find it hard to be critical of Aaron Glenn, even though he deserves all of it, and I have been, because I really like the guy. I do. I'll admit it. I'm biased. I really like the guy. I want him to succeed, but it's not happening right now. It just didn't look good. You have anything else?
No. That's about it.
All right, guys. That's all we got for this one. Go subscribe to that YouTube page. For Nelson Jordan, I'm Chris Nelson. This has been The First and Final Word.